With 7 years of professional game dev experience and another 7 years as a kid just trying to make crappy games to impress girls, I have got 14 years of combined experience. And today I'll give you 14 tips in Unity which are not traditional tips like using GitHub, organizing your project, naming convention, making prefab. No, it is slightly advanced and related to actual workflow rather than just learning Unity. So stick with me for 14 awesome workflow tips to improve your game. Tip number 1. Make a base trigger script that works with everything. In your game, 2D or 3D, there'll be a lot of collisions and trigger detections, like detecting the player when entering an area, detecting enemies, detecting bullets, and you want to do something when you detect it. So the way most devs handle this is they create a dedicated collision detection in each and every script, which will cause more code and more work. Here is a better flexible way to do it. Create a detection script. Whenever anything of any layer you want collide or trigger, you can call whatever function you want with this Unity callback event. Have a layer mask to decide who will collide. Decide if you want a collision or just a trigger, and add a callback. You can have 3 types of callbacks: when the object enters the collision state, when it stays in the collision state, and when it exits the collision state. And you can also add more control variables like whether it is called just once or it can be called multiple times. And when it collides with the object, just assign the function you want to call and boom, it works. You can make it as modular as you want. And when it collides or triggers, it just calls this event which is assigned. So it's very basic and modular. One script to detect anything and everything. Tip number 2, tile map trick. Many times when you are using tile maps, in later stages you want to add some more. Let's say I want to add a new tile to this tile map. You can drag and drop other images on tiles and create a bigger one, or you can create a new tile map. But if you want to just add 1 or 2 tiles, then what? Remake the entire tile map and you will also lose the level design you already made with the previous tile map. So the best way to do this is to add buffer tiles. I call them buffer tiles, like just blank colored squares as per your tile size. So when you create them, you have buffers. So let's say I want to add a new tile. I'll simply open the image in Photoshop or Sprite and replace that buffer tile with the new one. And bang, you got a new tile. Simple and easy. Tip number 3, animation callbacks. Whenever you are creating a shoot or hurt animation, or in simple words, you want to animate and also do some action, like when I play the shoot animation, I also want to shoot bullets. Then instead of timing it with coroutine or anything else, use animation callback events. Simply go to the animation timeline and add an event and call the scripts function which triggers whatever action you want to do. The advantage of this is, suppose in later stages, if your animation changes, let's say you improve the animations, increase or decrease the frames, or maybe speed up the animation, then you don't have to manually adjust the timing. It automatically adjusts, and this is the best practice to always use animation callbacks whenever you're gonna trigger some action with the animation. Tip number 4, pixel snapping. I personally hate this error a lot. If you have ever made a pixel art game in Unity with tile maps, you have faced this issue. These black and white lines appearing and disappearing when you move. And there's a lot of solutions to it, but here are some of the best. Also, there is a hidden problem within it that I'll explain later. Number 1, if you use default render pipeline, the easiest and the best solution is to make a new material, sprite default as a shader, and just check this box, pixel snap. And boom, it fixes the issue. But in some cases, it will not be fixed. And if you're using URP, Universal Render Pipeline, then this pixel snap will work, but light and other shader things will not work on that tiles because they are not URP material. Pixel snap shader that we have is the default render pipelines shader, so it won't work. So you have to make a custom pixel snapping shader for URP. If you want, I can share it in my Discord. I already have it. Number 3, use pixel perfect camera. This is the most appropriate solution because it fixes the actual problem due to which this issue is arising. Let's say my pixel art canvas size is 640 by 360, and suppose if I zoom in or change resolution of the screen, then Unity tries to adjust these pixels to that size, and as pixels are in multiples of 2, it causes this sort of issue. And also there's another issue I mentioned. When you observe your pixel art and when you change the resolutions, you will notice it is changing the shapes. Maybe some parts will appear thicker and some may be thin. You can also see like less number of pixels than you created, or maybe some more pixels. So the solution to both this problem is to use Pixel Perfect Camera by Unity. Just add your Pixel Perfect Camera script to the main camera and adjust the size. So pixel art is in 640 by 360. Just write that and set assets per unit as per you're using it in your actual game. And this error will be fixed because now the camera will move as per the pixel. It will not try to smooth out the motion. But it creates two new problems. First, you cannot control the camera size, how much to zoom, because this script controls it and you cannot override that. And also the camera movement may look a little snappy or less smooth as it moves in multiples of 2 or as per your pixel art size. So in my case, I use a combined approach of using URP's custom shader and smoothing out the camera movement so that this error doesn't happen. If you saw the cool art and wondering, oh my god, what a cool art and what is this game, let me introduce to you Back in Time, an awesome time travel action adventure game which I am making, where you can travel to real life historic places and events and mess with them. If you haven't seen the trailer, you can watch it here. I can brag about it all day, but if you ask me to sell it in just one line, then if you are a nerd, you will love it. So go wishlist it on Steam and also join my Discord for more action. Tip number 5. Always have a base class for same type of things. You probably have heard it and say, meh, it's not that useful. Trust me, it is. Assume this. You have 30 types of different enemies in your game, and when the player attacks them, they need to take damage or play hurt or even death animation. How will you do it? Writing and repeating the same line of code 30 times? That's even okay, but how will you detect it from player script? Let's assume that you have to detect it from the player script or any other script. You cannot put the code in the actual enemies. It's not possible. Another example, let's say my enemies have 50 plus types of bullet they can fire, and some enemies fire at a higher speed, at a higher damage, and some at lower speed. How will you customize it? Will you use a switch statement for these 50 types of bullets? I used to do that, but today if you do it, nobody is going to rescue you from the AI. A better, smarter and efficient way is to have a base class. For all the enemies, from environment obstacles to human enemies to epic bosses, in my game they all share a same base enemy class. And this class has very basic generic functions like getting the player transformed to detect player taking damage, a death function which is common in almost all the enemies, and it does all the very basic actions like calling the hurt animation, reducing the health. So in the player script, instead of worrying who is the target enemy, just access the base class and do the damage. And same with the bullets, just access its base class and adjust the speed and damage as per your requirement. Simple and efficient. Use editor scripting to make your life easy. Most of the beginners or even intermediate developers never use editor scripting or even learn it. But if you learn and implement editor scripting, it will make your life easy. This tip is not a specific tip, it is a general tip, so I'll explain my use case. So here you can see there is a node here. This node is an AI node, so when my AI enemy comes here, this node will tell the enemy what to do. So there are a lot of actions in it, like walk, run, dash, jump, lots of action here. So suppose if and all this action requires some sort of variable like speed, transform and others. So suppose if I write down all of them like how we write it in normal script, it will look very clumsy and it will contain a lot of variables which are not required for other actions. So suppose if I need to make this node as a run node which tells the enemy to just run. So all these other variables like jump target, crouch target, crouch speed, everything is useless. So why should I even show it? Because suppose if you are a programmer and if you are handling over this script to the level designer, then he will get confused. When he sees all these other unwanted variables, if that is kept empty, will that cause some error? And it looks so much messy. So the solution that I found was to just make a editor script which handles it very effectively. So let's say I want to have a walk functionality. So when I select walk, all the other variables will be hidden. And by hiding, I don't mean hide in the inspector code. It handles as the editor function. And when I select any other variable, let's say jump, it just shows the variables that are required for the jump. It makes it very easy and convenient, and it gives you a proper clean look. I've also made it a very simple and unique editor script long ago. So if you have done a lot of level designing, you will know this thing. So suppose if there is an object and if I duplicate that object, it goes all the way down to the last, and you have to drag that above if you want to organize, or if you for some reason if you want to do it one by one. So I was doing level design one time and it required a lot of duplicating and placing, and I wanted them in one series. I don't remember why. So when I calculated the time, in every 10 minutes, 1 minute I was spending in just bringing that up and placing it behind the object that I copied it from. So I thought that instead of doing that every minute, what I will do is I'll make an editor script which changes this dynamic. So whenever I duplicate the item, instead of sending it all the way down, it just places it below the object that I copied from. So it was very simple and easy, improved the workflow of the overall design process. Avoid memory leak. A big rookie mistake: whenever something goes out of your screen, bullets, enemies, any moving objects which are no longer required, deactivate them. Otherwise, it will cause memory leak problem. There was a racing game I made where you can shoot enemy cars, and I forgot to deactivate the bullets. It was a mobile game and I received a lot of reviews saying that if you play the game for longer, the mobile becomes very hot. I wasn't able to understand why, but eventually I understood memory leak was causing so much RAM usage that it caused this heat issue. So whenever something goes out of the screen, always remember to deactivate. Player bullets and particles, I use an invisible wall around the camera. When anything goes out of that zone, deactivate it. And a custom script which detects camera and activates and deactivates objects. It will optimize the game a lot. Tip number 8. Jumps and rigid body. Sorry Unity people, but I don't trust your rigid bodies. If you have ever tried making your rigid body character jump, you know this. First, the jumps look very unnatural, and second, while jumping, if some other object comes in between, it breaks and causes a weird collision. And also there are minor errors, so like the jump is always not precise, so it can land on maybe 2-3 points ahead or behind the point where you want it to land. And also there is jitteriness. Sometimes it causes jitteriness to the motion. So what I do is either use custom physics, which I have covered in this video, or use fake jumps. Fake jump doesn't work in all cases. All the jumps that you see in my game are totally fake. So look at this jump. So crisp and lands exactly where I want it. Every time. Not even 0.1% error in the position. Why? Because it is fake. What I do is, I created a jump helper object, which is nothing, just an empty object with an animation doing a jump. When I want to jump, I just create that object and follow the path, and boom, precise every time. Other more general way is to use a custom projectile motion script which stimulates the projectile motion equation and gives you a precise jump even for rigid bodies. So if you want, I can share that script in my Discord too. So never use or limit the use of inbuilt rigid body physics for jumping. Instead of creating and destroying particle effects, activate and deactivate them. Suppose there is a dust or muzzle effect which you land or shoot. So instead of creating it and destroying it every time, just disable it. It will not overload your garbage collector. And also, if you have seen it, you'll know in some games, when particles or some effects appear for the first time, it stucks a bit. So it lags a bit when you use it first time. So suppose if I have a bomb with some particle effect, if I use it for the first time, it will hang a bit when used. This will not happen if you use this enable disable method. Make your garbage collector happy too. Tip number 10. There is a limit to layer mask, so use it wisely. I don't know if you know this or not, but there is a limit to number of layer masks you can use. Tags and sorting layers, you can have it as much as you want, but for layers, there is only 32 layers available. So if you're making a huge game, use it wisely. There is a limit because it uses bit shift logic. Tip number 11. Don't assume, draw gizmos. Whenever you create any enemy with a patrol path or bomb with some impact radius or a detection length for some AI enemy, use gizmos. It will give you instant visual idea how much range is covered, and it is also very easy for the level designer to understand. So instead of assuming the patrol path, how much it will be sufficient, you can visualize it and also visualize when the enemy will be detected from that point and how much will that bomb cover the radius. These are the very small and subtle things, but it improves the workflow of the level design, and if the workflow improves it, it eventually improves your game. Tip number 12. Time independent animation and other stuff. In my game, as it is a time travel game, there is a lot of stopping and slowing down time. Suppose in your game also, if it's not a time travel game, and you also may need to slow down or stop time. During that time, if you need some animation to play or some timers to work, for example, pause screen. When you pause your game, you wanna pause everything with time.timescale equal to 0. But you wanna show some cool animation on the UI, on the pause UI canvas. It will not work. The animation will not work as the entire system is paused. But there is a simple workaround. In the animator, just go to the update mode and use unscaled time. Boom! It will work no matter what. Same with any timer in your coding department. Instead of using time.delta time, use time.unscaled delta time. And it will work even if the game is paused. Tip number 13. Smart enemies who can detect walls and grounds. If you want your enemy to behave smartly, then it should look and feel smart in your game. One of the simple way to make that is to avoid wall collision and stop when the floor ends. If your enemy falls down at the end and keeps trying to move into a wall, it will look terrible. So here is a simple tip to fix that, very easy, and it also works for 3D. Make a simple function, draw a raycast and see if it collides with anything. If it collides with a wall, then just tell the update function to not move, and if it's not, then go ahead. And same for the floor. And then add the transform points, draw the gizmos, and boom, with this simple line of code, the enemy is at least 20% smarter than the rest. Tip number 14. Always play with cinemachines. When you want a transition from one area to the other, or switch camera style or angle or position, instead of using any other method, just use cinemachine camera. They are simple, effective, and require no code to make and even customize. When switching from this area to this interior area, I want to do two things. One, zoom in a little more and reduce the camera visible area, the confined area. For that, I will switch my camera with just inbuilt cinemachine functions, and it works like a charm. Same for camera shakes, camera callback, different types of follow, dolly cameras, everything. Almost all camera stuff is possible with cinemachine, so always use them. So these were the 14 tips I learned the hard way, and I hope you learn it the easy way and implement it in your workflow and make an awesome game. And if you like my awesome game, go wishlist it on Steam, and you can join my Discord for more action. And I will see you soon. Take care.